You wrote a book called "We Are All Apes."
Seems like Aaron Ra is starting to realize how insufferable and ridiculous this guy is.
That's correct.
Where's your proof that we are all apes?
Oh boy, here it comes.
What is an ape?
Right. What is the ape?
Right. An ape is any member of the taxonomic superfamily Hominoidea.
Amazing. Have you ever seen a human being turn into you ever seen an ape? Have you ever seen an ape turn into a human being?
Have I ever seen a dog turn into a dachshund?
No. Have you ever seen an ape turn into a human being?
Have I ever seen a car turn into a Corvette?
Can you hear me?
See, this is the guy's strategy. This is how he does it. He doubles and triples and quadruples down on the question, refuses to take any answer at all because he wants this to be a failure. So no matter what answer he gives, he asks a question that cannot be answered with a yes or a no. Obviously, this question is not like framed that way. So he asks a question that can't be answered with a yes or a no, and then he refuses any answer given. He says, "Can you hear me? Why aren't you answering the question?" He's literally answering it. He's actually answering the question. But he's framing it as though Aaron Ra is trying to escape the question, when in reality, he's not. He is actually answering it, adequately even.
Yeah, have I ever seen a shark turn into a fish?
I didn't ask about any of those things. I asked, when have you ever seen an ape turn into a human being?
I'm trying to illustrate the fallacy of your question.
How's that fallacy? You wrote that we're all ape. You must have.
And we are.
You
and
must
that book,
have at some point all these hundreds of
Right, the
thousands
proof
of
is in there.
years. At some
That
point,
book is-
you would
that book
have
is
seen
24
if
illustrated
an
pages long.
ape turned into a human being. Have you ever seen an ape turn into a human being?
There is literally no answer that he could give because this isn't a yes or a no question. It's not really structured that way. It seems like it is, but it's not. If you understand anything about how science works at all, you'll understand this is not a yes or a no question.
Once again, humans are apes in the same way that a duck is a bird. So if you ask me if I've ever seen a bird turn into a duck, that's kind of a stupid question.
Because I didn't ask that. I didn't ask that. I asked you. I asked you. Ask.
I don't. Is this like an inside joke with his audience or something?
Ask. Have you ever seen an ape turn into a human being?
This is actually a fun level, but I'm not going to play it. It's too long, and yeah.
That is a nonsense question.
Why?
Because it's like asking for a place halfway between Los Angeles and California.
No, it's not. I didn't ask about that.
I know. Well, you don't know what you asked.
I do know. You wrote this book called "We Are All Apes,"
and it gives the proof
I'm
in the book.
asking, have you personally seen a human being, an ape turn into a human being?
It would be impossible for a human being to be anything other than an ape, for the same reason that it is impossible for a dachshund to be anything but a dog. Have you ever seen a dog turn into a dachshund?
Why are you running from that question?
I'm not. I'm answering the question.
See, like I said, it's a no-win situation, and it's intentional. The way that he does it is he's going to continue asking this question no matter what, whether he gets a valid answer or not, and he already did.
Illustrating.
No, you're running. You're running from that question. You wrote this book that we are apes.
I'm facing you head on, answering your question directly.
No, you're not.
Humans are a subset of the category of apes.
I didn't ask you that.
We start out
you
apes.
How
we can't. So therefore, it makes no sense to ask how the parent category turns into the subcategory. It is exactly the same as asking if I've ever seen a bird turn into a duck. Do you understand why your question? Have you ever seen a bird turn into a duck? How about I ask you that?
But that wasn't the question.
But that's the same question, isn't it?
You wrote the book saying we are. You tried to divert. You tried to deviate from the question. You wrote a book called "We Are All Apes." And so how can you write a book that says we're all ape when you've never seen an ape turn into a human being?
Have you ever seen a duck turn into a? Have you ever seen a bird turn into a duck?
Why are you dodging the question, man?
I'm not dodging the question. I'm answering it.
No, you're not. It's like when I asked you if you love a Christian, you went all around. I
answered that question.
I asked you where you're going, you tell me where you've been.
This sounds deep. It sounds like it's a meaningful thing to say. I ask you where you're going, you tell me where you've been. That doesn't make any sense, actually, in this context. What's he even talking about? What does he mean? In what way did Aaron Ra tell him where he's been? That's a nonsensical statement to make in this situation.
And I answered your question directly.
No, you didn't. You're not answering this
one. Yes, I did.
So one more time with that, and then we have to move on.
You don't understand what the word ape means. That's why I'm trying to explain it to you.
Have you ever seen an ape turn into a human being?
Okay, let's look at that. What does the word ape mean? That means a bipedal hominoid with a certain number of hair follicles, with a certain type of teeth, with fingerprints and fingernails. That means all of these descriptive features that we share. Have I ever seen us turn into us?
You just use the word, but you're not making sense, because I do want to know.
You don't know anything at all about taxonomy whatsoever. So how can I?
So you're not able to answer that question.
Who doesn't know anything about it.
So you're not able to answer that question. I want to do a follow-up.
Do you understand that the word ape is a taxonomic question? Right? That's a taxonomic word. Do you understand what it means?
No, that's not the question, though. You're deviating.
No. He doesn't understand anything, and it doesn't matter. He's going to propagandize. This is propaganda.
No, I'm not deviating. What
now,
does the word
if you
ape mean?
Prove to me that you've seen an ape turn into a human being.
What does the word ape mean?
Word can mean many things. But let me ask you this.
But this word means one thing. What does it mean?
I have no idea.
It means any member of the taxonomic set superfamily Hominoidea, which means that it has a number of these characteristics: fingernails and fingerprints, the certain type of dentition that we have, the certain type of ears that we have. All of these characters, the two pectoral mammae, et cetera. There's a whole long list of different physical characteristics that define what an ape is.
Okay, so fine. I don't care about the humanity, but what I do want to know, I do want to know if you ever seen an ape. You want to ask
me a nonsense question.
I want to know, have you ever seen an ape turn into a human being? After all these years, you would have think that somebody, somewhere, somehow, would have seen an ape turn into a human being. And
what if it happened a long time ago?
No one has ever seen that.
Except that you're asking a question that makes no sense.
Even the people in books that you have read and the folks that you listen to have never seen that.
Are we done here? Because you're not going to listen to my explanation. You're asking me
because you're not answering my question.
I am answering your question.
You're going around my question. You don't
understand what it means.
You're going around my question. You're not answering my question.
Like, you know, Aaron Ra is very knowledgeable about this subject. He could probably go to a biology class or a biology, a college that teaches biology and test out of it. I would be willing to bet he could test out of an awful lot of biology classes and stuff. He's very, very knowledgeable about this stuff. And he's sitting here in front of somebody who doesn't know any of this information. This guy could ask Aaron Ra an awful lot and get, detailed explanations. He has any questions about how this stuff works, he could get the answers to it if he wanted. And instead of getting the answers through Aaron Ra, he's propagandizing and twisting things around and refusing to, even think about any of the answers or the questions that he's asking. It's ridiculous and sad, man. It's like Donald Trump. The dude is influential and rich enough, Donald Trump is, that he could if he has any question at all, any question in the world, he could find an expert that would give him the answers. He'd just call anybody up at any point in time, and they sit down with him, Indian style, on the floor, the way we used to in kindergarten, He would sit down with them, and they would explain the answer to him, no matter what it was. Literally anything in the world, even classified stuff. Experts would come in and sit down and explain it. But does he do that? Of course not. He doesn't want answers. He doesn't give a shit. It's like God, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like, it's so heartbreakingly sad. It's an outrage almost that people like Trump or this guy here, like Jesse Lee Peterson, have the opportunity to get these answers and don't take it.
I did not go around your question.
You did. I asked you, have you ever seen an ape turn into a human being?
You don't know what the word ape means.
I don't care about the word. I do know what it means. I'm asking you.
Okay, then tell me, what does the word ape mean?
I asked you, have you ever seen an ape turn into a human being?
You're using these words. I want to know what you think these words mean, because I know what the words mean.
The one thing I know for sure.
Yeah, I know for sure what
I
the
know
words mean.
for sure.
And I can prove
that
what the words mean, but you may be using
no
them
one
incorrectly,
has
and I
ever
think you are
seen
using them incorrectly.
You and
so what does the word ape mean to you?
You and those people who are claiming that apes turn into human beings or human beings came from apes.
I don't claim that apes turn into human beings. We are.
This is kind of the first pushback that Jesse Lee Peterson has offered this whole time, and I'm kind of surprised he offered any, but, you know, his audience is probably going to get annoyed by it if he didn't offer any pushback at all.
Human being came from apes.
A
have
human
no proof of that
can't be anything other than an ape. We are classified as apes.
You're not listening.
Oh, no. You're not listening.
No, you're not listening.
Okay.
See, he flips it around on people. This is very intentional. He knows exactly what he's doing.
All right. So is that where we're going to be here?
No.
Are we done?
No.
You either learn how to have the communication both ways, or we're done here.
You have to learn how to answer a question.
I did answer the question.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
No, you did not answer the question.
No sense.
Let me ask.
I explained to you why the question makes no sense. Have you ever seen a bird turn into a duck? Does that question make any sense to you?
Right. Just like, have you ever seen a ape turn into a human?
Do you understand that all birds are ducks?
As dumb as that.
Do you understand that ducks are birds?
That question is as dumb as the question about apes.
What you asked me is a dumbass question. I'm trying to show you how dumbass it is. Do you understand that ducks
Did you say dumb ass?
Do you understand that ducks are birds?
Did you say dumb ass? What duck?
Yes.
Let me ask you this.
Do you understand that ducks are birds?
You believe in evolution, right?
I don't believe in it. No, I can show it, demonstrate it, prove it even to you.
Evolution is not something you believe in. It's something you accept or you reject because it's a statement of fact. God is something that you believe in. Love, something you believe in. Do you believe in love after or life? Wait, what? Life after love? Is that the Cher song? What's the Cher song? Do you believe in love after something or other, or some variation of that? Dude, did I just go in a big fucking circle? The fuck am I doing in this level? Anyway, love is something you believe in. God is something you believe in. Evolution is something you accept or you don't accept.
Do you understand that ducks are birds?
Why do you believe in evolution
because I can prove it
if no one has ever seen it?
But we have seen it.
No, you haven't.
We've relied on it throughout the entire history of.
No,
we have seen it. I know it doesn't really make a lot of sense unless you're like well informed on this, but evolution seems like something that you wouldn't be able to see, right? Because it takes place over such a long period of time. But we have actually seen evolution take place. The thing you need is really short generations. So E. coli bacteria reproduces in, I think, 6 hours? Okay, hang on. It says that a generation of time of E. coli at optimal condition amount to 20 minutes. So actually, it's even shorter than I thought, interestingly enough. So you can reproduce E. coli rapidly and look at the changes that take place in the E. coli bacteria, and you can kind of guide its evolution. Honestly, you know, people do this with viruses all the time. They watch the direction that they evolve, basically, to come up with the next vaccine that they need. Like, they watch the direction the flu virus goes when evolving. This is guided evolution, is what we're talking about. And this is the thing that Marjorie Taylor Greene refuses to accept is real because evolution isn't real. So, yeah. We can actually watch this happen. Absolutely. And we watch it happen on a regular basis. This happens in labs across the country.
Who has ever seen it?
It is demonstrated fact. We can observe it. We can test it, verify it numerous ways. I can prove that even to you.
So why is evolution,
so that you can understand this?
Why is evolution
Do you understand?
Why is evolution just a theory even today?
A theory is a scientific framework that is pretty much flawless. Theory is like the graduation point for anything. You want to be a theory. If you are like a scientific idea, you want to be a theory, for sure. People colloquially use the word theory when they actually mean hypothesis rather than theory. He thinks that evolution is a hypothesis, not a theory. It's actually the graduation point, just like the theory of gravity or the theory or cell theory or germ theory of disease. Like, these things are not in question.
Why is it that atomic theory is just a theory?
You're not answering the question. You're answering the question with another crazy question.
Why is it the theory of gravity is just a theory today?
Why is evolution still considered a theory?
For the same reason that atomic theory is still considered a theory, for the same reason that theory of gravity is still a theory, for the same reason that the germ theory of disease is still a theory.
So because it can't be proven to be real.
That's incorrect. He's mixing up theory and hypothesis because people colloquially use the word theory when what they mean is hypothesis.
Because there is a rule in science that we want to go the complete opposite direction of religion, and rather than assert things to be true that are not true, we are not allowed to proclaim absolute truth. So everything that we know to be true has to be regarded as a theory, on the hypothetical potential, at least, that something could be improved or changed later on.
That's amazing.
There is a rule.
Because of time, let me ask you this.
There is a rule in science that you cannot prove.
You're talking theory.
There's a rule in science. I'm answering your question.
But you're talking theory.
I'm answering the question, and you won't let me answer it. There is a rule in science that says that you cannot prove any theory to be true in the positive sense. At most, the most you can do is show.
I know scientists who have proved that God exists, and I know those who are against God, and they think that God doesn't exist.
No, you don't.
But let me ask you, because of time.
You don't know.
I do know. I know scientists.
Dude, I love it.
Who have proved that God exists.
You don't.
I do.
No.
No, he doesn't. God is not. It's not possible to prove that God is real, or that he exists, or whatever. It's not possible to do. It's what we call a non-falsifiable claim. It's like the claim that you have a dragon in your basement or whatever. And you say, okay, well, I should be able to go to your basement and see it, right? Well, it's invisible. Okay, well, if we just sprinkle some baby powder on the floor, we should be able to find it, right? Well, it floats in the air, too, whenever it wants, so. Okay, well, it's got to eat sometime, so we'll put some food out there for it to eat, right? Well, it jumps into other dimensions and eats food elsewhere, so yeah, there's that. It's non-falsifiable. There's always an explanation for why we can't see it or we can't prove that it's there. That's the problem, really, with, the existence of God, which is fine. You want to believe it anyway, that's okay, but that's basically the corner that people have backed God into at this point. They come up with all these explanations for why it's impossible to see him or whatever, rather than just accepting that there's no proof that he's out there.
Yes.
Then where is their Nobel Prize? Why have I not heard of them? Why are there still atheists? Why is the majority of the scientific community still atheist?
Because
if
the Nobel Prize people
had ever proved that God existed, then we would all know that God exists, right? But we don't. Nobody knows that God exists.
But let me ask.
That's why there are more and more scientists every year who are atheists, who are walking away from their faith. Atheism is on the rise in all 50 states and around the world, while Christianity is in a general state of decline.
The reason that there are
in the last 20 years, atheism has eclipsed Judaism, then Catholicism, and now even Protestantism. Yes, there are less, and that's just in the regular community. In the scientific community, if there's only a third of people who still believe in God in any concept at all. So no, you don't know. Any scientist.
Yes, I do.
And you can't show that.
Look, if there were any scientists, or if there's any evidence or proof of any sort that God was real, it would be all over the Templeton Foundation's website or Ken Ham's Creationists website or whatever it is. It would be all over everything. You know, he wants to claim that there's like a conspiracy to cover this stuff up. Okay, great. But they can't cover everything up everywhere. And, he knows, Jesse Lee Peterson knows that the proof would absolutely be all over everybody's websites and, classrooms and everything else. There is no proof on their website. No proof. You know what it does say on their websites and their everything? It says you have to have faith. And that's okay. You want to have faith? Fine. That's fine with me. You can have faith. Perfectly okay. But don't tell me that there is proof. That's ridiculous.
Let me say this to you. You asked why there are no Nobel Peace Prize for.
If all you're going to do is lie to me.
You asked why there are Nobel Peace.
And that's apparently all you're going to do.
You asked why aren't there any
meaningful conversation.
You asked why are there any Nobel Peace Prize for the scientists who have proven God exists?
That's not what
because
I said
the people
at all.
who hand out.
I called you out. You told a lie.
The people
you
who
said that there were scientists who proved that God exists.
Satan, hold on.
There is no scientist. There is no.
Satan, get behind me.
No.
Hold on.
Satan, get behind me, he says. Wow, man. Just ridiculous, honestly, and sad.
No scientist has ever done that. If that had happened,
let me say
this
to you.
Buckets of documentation.
Let me say that the reason that
would have gotten the Nobel Prize and the Templeton Prize, they'd be world
all right,
famous.
Fine. The reason that the scientists who prove that God
there is no science to prove God exists
doesn't get the Nobel Peace Prize because of the people who.
So the reason he doesn't get the Nobel Peace Prize is because
handed out the Nobel Peace Prize of their father, the devil. So they hate
So they're tricking everybody. They're lying to them. They really do know that the Nobel Peace Prize people really know that God is real, and they're of the devil. Basically, is what he's saying here. That's completely absurd. Like, give me a break. Like I said, we don't need the Nobel Peace Prize to prove that God is real. Like, we can just look at the Templeton Foundation's website, and just like that, it would be all over the place if he was real. All over the place. All over their websites. And so would proof of the Nobel Peace Prize's fraud or whatever. It would be all over their websites, and it's nowhere to be found. You know what is there? Take it on faith. Believe. Trust. There's no proof presented.